In the rolling hills of Kentucky sits a massive, looming structure, the Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Now abandoned, it was once a tuberculosis hospital during the early 1900s, where over 60,000 patients met a grim fate. Today, it's considered one of the most haunted locations in the U.S., and one story stands out: unexplained, disturbing, and horrifyingly real. The year was 2009. Emily and her fiancé Mark had just moved to Louisville. Both history buffs and paranormal enthusiasts, they couldn't resist the temptation to tour the infamous Waverly Hills on Halloween night. The event was organized, with small groups led through the crumbling, graffiti-scarred hallways. Emily, however, felt uneasy the moment they arrived. "I felt like something was watching us before we even stepped inside," she recalled years later in an interview. "It wasn't a feeling I could explain, it was like we were being expected." The tour began normally: old surgical rooms, narrow hallways, patient rooms with rusted metal beds. The guide pointed out the death tunnel, a 500-foot chute once used to discreetly transport the dead downhill away from the eyes of the living. But when they reached the 4th floor, things took a darker turn. The 4th floor was known for being the most active. Rumors told of shadow people, a little boy named Timmy who rolled a ball, and a dark entity simply called the Watcher. Their guide, a local named Rachel, seemed nervous. "People see things here," she warned, her flashlight flickering as if on cue. "Stay close." As the group walked through the corridor, Emily lagged behind, snapping photos with her old digital camera. Mark stayed near, but just a few steps ahead. Then she saw it: movement at the end of the hallway. A figure. Tall, slender, and completely still. She froze. "Mark," she whispered. He turned, annoyed, but when he looked where she pointed, the figure was gone. "You're just scaring yourself," he said. But Emily knew what she'd seen. Her chest tightened, her breath shortened. The group entered room 402, once a nurse's station. Legend said a nurse hanged herself there after discovering she was pregnant by a doctor who abandoned her. Emily took a deep breath and stepped in. The room was cold, unnaturally cold. And then suddenly, her flashlight died. "Battery's dead," she muttered. But it had been brand new. At the same moment, the air shifted, like someone had just walked past her. She turned sharply. No one was there. The walls groaned as if breathing. Then thump, a sound in the hallway. Everyone turned. A door had slammed shut at the far end. "No one went down there," Rachel said, her voice thin. They continued the tour, but Emily felt watched the entire time. Her camera wouldn't work. Her phone refused to take photos. When she tried to speak, her voice felt stuck in her throat. Back home, Emily uploaded the few photos she managed to take. Most were blurry, but one made her stomach drop. There, in the corridor of the 4th floor, was a shape she hadn't seen when taking the shot: a tall, pitch-black figure with glowing eyes. It was standing behind her fiancé. She showed Mark. He laughed it off. "Lens flare," he insisted. But that night, he had a nightmare. He woke up gasping, drenched in sweat. "He was watching me," he whispered. "I couldn't move." Over the following weeks, things got worse. Lights in their apartment flickered, though the wiring was new. Doors opened and slammed on their own. At night, they heard whispers in the walls, whispers that sounded like gasping breath and ragged coughing. The worst part? Emily began seeing that tall figure from Waverly Hills, standing at the foot of her bed, always watching. She tried smudging, prayers, even a medium. The medium left mid-session, pale as a ghost herself. "You brought something back with you," she warned. "And it's not human." One night, while Mark was away for work, Emily was alone. Around 2:30 a.m., she woke up cold. Not just chilly, but like the inside of a freezer. She sat up and saw her breath fogging in the dark. Then she heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. From the hallway leading to her bedroom. She reached for her phone, but the screen was black. The footsteps stopped right outside her door. Then knock, knock. Not a loud bang, not a creak, just 2 steady knocks. She couldn't breathe. She whispered, "Who's there?" Silence. She got up and opened the door. Nothing. The hallway was empty, but the air smelled like rotting meat. That was the last straw. The next morning, she and Mark moved out. Years later, they still won't live near Louisville. But Emily kept that photo. She's shown it to paranormal investigators, skeptics, and photographers. No one can explain it. The watcher from Waverly Hills is still there. And maybe, just maybe, if you're not careful, he'll follow you home too.